Hiring is one of the most stressful and time-intensive things that an agency owner can do, and truthfully, most of them are doing it the wrong way. They're spending hours on calls, they're going on their gut feeling, and 3 months down the line, they find themselves back in the same place they were. No hire made, 15k, 20k, 30k down the drain. It's frustrating, and I get it. But of the 40 agency owners that I've worked with one-to-one, hiring is something I've helped most with. And there's a 5-step process that I've used with them to help them find the right person and make sure when they do find them, they stick around and actually help them grow their agency. So here's how. So here's a typical scenario for an agency owner. You figure out that you need to make a hire or two, so what do? You move fast. You get a job spec live, you put it online, and you wait for the applications to come in. Because to your mind, everyone's going to want to work for your agency. Unfortunately, what more often than not happens here is that candidates do come in, but it's difficult for the agency owner to process a lot of applications. So they spend a lot of time screening applications, they spend a lot of time speaking to people that might be of interest. And after hours and hours of time, it gets to the point where they have to make a decision. They're left with maybe a handful of candidates of varying degrees of experience and fit, and the owner finds themselves leaning on their gut feeling. That is a dangerous game to play, particularly because in 3 months from now, you'll probably find yourself in a scenario as that agency owner wondering why you made the decision you did, but you don't really remember. Because it was gut feeling at the time, or it was based on how you thought things were going to go, as opposed to having a process in place. So let's rewind for a second. Let's take the agency owner that has a process in place to make hires. And a really important thing here for this person will be that they don't know for sure if they're going to find the perfect person, because the perfect person doesn't really exist, but they are going to give themselves the chance to find someone that could be a great fit for their business. Now, it might seem too good to be true, but this is a process that you can rely on as opposed to relying on your gut feeling. And at the end of all this, can I guarantee that every hire you make is going to work out? No, that's not the point. We just increase the chances that we find someone that has a higher degree of possibility or chance of working out for you. Let's go into the detail on that 5-step process that you can use as an agency owner to help find the right people to help you grow your business. Okay, so step 1 is simply the application. So what we need to do as the agency that's actually hiring is map out clearly what it is we're looking for. And really there are 2 sides to that. 1, skills. So what you need to see in someone in terms of their ability to do the work. And then 2 is really the values and the principles and the fit side of this. That is the side that more often than not is forgotten about. Yes, we might put what the type of person looks like or sounds like to us into the job spec, but having a measurable set of criteria to use to help you identify and measure the person as you go through the hiring process, that is less common. So alongside that, I'd recommend at this stage getting your scorecard ready. Your scorecard is going to be essentially a list of criteria that you're going to use to grade each candidate. And you're going to start grading each candidate fairly from the moment they send in their application, right through to the moment that you have to make a decision. Step 2 then is screening. So this might sound incredibly simple, and it is, but it's something that is often skipped, particularly by agency owners running a small business that just want to make a hire. So you get your applications. The number of those can vary quite a lot depending on the role, the type of agency you're working in, or really the market itself. What I'd always recommend here is having a few, literally 2 or 3 very short answer intro questions lined up to send to candidates that have applied for this job. This is our way of simply saying, are you genuinely interested in this job, or are you just blanket applying for a lot of things at once? I respect it's a tough job market, but fundamentally our job in this process is to find the people that really want to work for this agency, not just any agency. And part of that is going to be gauging their interest in the things we do or the market or industries that we operate in. So these short questions are also a great way of starting to assess for things like written communication. The moment you get a response, or the moment that you need to get something from the candidate that comes in written format, it's a great way of saying, hey, they seem to be on the ball with that, their grammar, punctuation was really good. Even how organized they are can shine through, because they might reply in a timely fashion, maybe versus taking some days to get back to you. Screening in its own right is starting the assessment process. And again, you can begin to refer to your scorecard here because you can start to put in some initial notes around certain criteria you might be assessing for. Step 3 is assessment. Now, already by this stage, you might be surprised to hear that we've whittled down the number of candidates quite a lot. We've gone through their applications, we've given them a chance to reply to some initial intro questions, and now we are looking at, say, the best 5 or 10 candidates from the pool of people who've applied that we would like to do an assessment. So what does that assessment entail? Usually, it's a written assessment online that will take about 45 minutes. I typically recommend we do 2 scenario-based questions. These scenario-based questions will be formulated based on the big gaps that the owner needs to fill within their business. So for example, if you're hiring an account manager, you might want to assess for their ability to handle tricky situations with clients, and maybe even on the other side of the fence, their ability to tackle a commercial opportunity that comes up with a client. Whatever it is, we map this out, give the candidate a specified amount of time to complete the task, and give them a chance to ask any questions about it before they have to actually go ahead, do it, and then submit it back to us. It's done in their own time, at a time that which they pick. But what we don't do is give them an open amount of time to complete this. Part of the assessment here is giving them a chance to see how they can do in a challenging environment or maybe in a time-constrained situation. Because in real life, we don't always have all day to kind of figure out what to do next. There might be moments where you have to move really quickly, and there might be moments where you have to kind of plot things out before acting. So these scenarios should be reflective of the challenges or things they're going to face in the role in real life as much as possible. So step 4 then is the actual interview. And by this stage now, on top of everything else, we now have assessment results for these candidates. So let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that there's about 6 or 7 candidates here. We might want to pick 2 or 3 to interview initially. We go into that interview. The interview is typically 45 to 60 minutes long, structured like a typical interview you'd imagine. But again, referring to your scorecard, we're going to be asking questions to make sure there are no gaps left. Things like oral communication, or maybe how they've handled certain things in the past, or asking for more detail on one of the assessment answers they gave, are great ways to use this time. It's also a chance to actually meet the person, speak to them a little bit as a human, and try and figure out if they could be the type of person you want in your business. So you might want to give them a chance to talk more about their past, how they fitted into different teams, and really just give them a chance to shine and show their best qualities as part of this interview process. Okay, so now you're really down to the final stages. Step 5 is making a decision, sending an offer. The one thing I'd say here that you might want to deploy is kind of a follow-up conversation if you need to separate 2 or 3 candidates from each other. You've got your scorecard, you'll have a grade or a number for the overall performance during this hiring process. If you've got a few candidates that are on a similar score, you're going to want to give each of them a chance to maybe re-answer a question you asked that they didn't handle so well, or even just give them a chance to tell you a bit more about what their ambitions are, why they want to work in the space, why they want to move from their current role, etc. Ultimately, you want to have a really clear picture about each person, why they want the job, and what they think makes them a great fit for your business. When it comes to the decision, lean on the scorecard. Do not lean on your gut feeling. Gut feeling can be part of this. I know it's important. Some people would say that their gut feeling has helped them make some great decisions in the past. I don't dismiss that, but as part of a process, we can rely on what we've got mapped out and what we've used through the entirety of this hiring process. It's a score that relates to criteria that we've predetermined are really important for us to try and find the right person. That is huge, and it's a really key element to this whole process. When it comes to making the offer, of course, the ideal scenario is to have someone that is also like a secondary or a backup option. This doesn't happen too often, but it can happen to be the case where someone, for whatever reason, things might have changed and they reject your offer. If they do, you ideally want to find yourself in a place where you've got someone who's as equally good or as good a fit ready that you can send a backup offer to as well. When it comes to negotiation, it's the same as anything else, really. You kind of know what you're open to negotiating, maybe what's a non-negotiable for you, and ultimately we want to try and get a good person in the door on favourable terms for both parties. Once they're in, let's see how they do, because finding the right person is just a piece to the process. The process of recruitment can go on for 6 to 9 months beyond the hire being made. So just keep that in mind. We can't guarantee we're going to find the right person, but we can find someone that feels like they have a very good chance of doing well within the business. So those are the 5 steps I've used to help around 40 agency owners now figure out how to make better hires. And if that feels like something that could be of interest to you, let me know. There's a link in the description where you can book a call, and I might be able to help you apply it to your own agency.